When you watch Spurs now, you don't feel like, oh, we're going to concede this. Well, we did concede a stupid goal against Chelsea. That's when it becomes a bit problematic because we haven't seen us do that in recent times. And of course, on this show in particular, on this channel, we've been critical of Vicario. So let's just bring him in critically because the last 3 games he has been our best player.
Yeah, he did well. I was impressed with him.
He's been really good. The last 3 games, if it wasn't for Vicario, there'd be different stories. The Monaco game, unbelievable. Everton as well, saved some great shots. And it should have been maybe 3-0 to Chelsea if it wasn't for Vicario. So that's a positive. He's gone in the right direction where everything else has gone the other way. We've got to talk about Xavi Simons, though, because I was really excited to see Bergvall start for Spurs. I like him a lot. And I thought maybe he is someone that could have been that little link in between going from defence into attack. Subbed after 5 minutes from concussion, I think it was. Xavi Simons comes on. He's already not starting, so in his head he's been dropped. Comes on, he's lacking in confidence. What did you make of his performance, Spence?
I thought it was very poor. It was poor, you can't deny that. He doesn't look physically sort of at it or capable at the minute. It was maybe similar like to when Modrić come through the door, actually. And I'm unsure about his position because he's playing him on the left. I'm not too sure whether he needs to sit in the hole, play the 10 role, and whether he needs to be sort of getting on the ball and linking play a little bit more rather than attacking his fullbacks. He just didn't look capable of doing it.
Can I bring you back to that Modrić point quickly, please? Because, of course, we all think of the Ballon d'Or winning Luka Modrić. But what was he like when he first came to Spurs?
It took him time to adapt. You could tell he physically wasn't sort of up to where he needed to be. He needs to be in and around them sort of training environments, feeling that sort of pressure from a Premier League player. Physically, it's completely different.
And how long did that take him?
I think it took him sort of 6 months to find his feet. Yeah,
because I think we look back at his time with rose-tinted glasses and we remember all the good things.
He's unbelievable. One of the best players I've ever played.
I think he really came into his own in that game against Liverpool when he scored that top bins, and then from there it was just a different Luka Modrić. So you're saying we know Xavi Simons has got talent.
Undeniable.
And he's a young player as well. So I think fans may be getting on his back too early, maybe?
I think a little bit early, yeah. I think you've got to give him time. You can't watch that game and say he wasn't poor. He had a poor game. Every time he received the ball, he looked frightened to receive the ball.
Like Maya said.
Yeah, he looked frightened, which is normally what you get from a young player. But he's undeniable talent. He just needs time, and I think his positioning. If you're playing him on the wing, he didn't look like he was a guy that would attack his fullback and get across him. Seems more of a link player. And so there might be a positional problem there. So then he looks like he's just not... He's in different areas where he's receiving the ball and he's not comfortable. But I think he needs time. I think if you give him time, don't get too frustrated with him and allow him to develop. But that, when you've got 70 million price tag, it's a hard position to be in. You need to hit the ground running. You're going to get criticised.
Sorry, we've already mentioned in other clubs like Florian Wirtz is coming to Liverpool at a big price tag. One of the most talented players in Europe hasn't hit the ground running. Should we take that into context as well? The Premier League is a completely different ball game when it comes to playing football and how much time you get on the ball.
I think we have to take a few things into consideration because, like the fact he's come in as our only fit 10 because Maddison and Kulusevski are injured, so he hasn't got the luxury of swapping out with them, which would have been the ideal case. And then also the Morgan Gibbs-White and Eberechi Eze situation hasn't helped him because it looked like he was the third choice. I mean, a lot of people were happy with the transfer because of where his ceiling is, but you've got to admit maybe Morgan Gibbs-White and Eberechi Eze are more proven in the Premier League and English football. There's moments in his game where you do look and... I mean, you look at I don't watch a lot of Bundesliga football, but from what I've seen, you get a lot more time on the ball. The pressing's not as high. I said before we started filming, there was a goal that Florian Wirtz scored last year for Leverkusen. He's got all the time in the world and he's just able to shoot from 30 yards out. I think we saw Xavi Simons do that a few times for Leipzig. It's frustrating because it seems like a lot of those Bundesliga players have come over and are really struggling. Look at Jeremy Frimpong as well. Even Nick Voldemar got subbed off yesterday at half-time for Newcastle. So there is the problem with modern football is we're so impatient. I think I've seen people say on talkSPORT the last couple of weeks, Drogba, Henry, they all took time actually to embed, but because of social media, because of memes like 007, even though he has already got an assist, because people forget he did actually get an assist against West Ham and it was a really good corner that he took. People just run with all this they're zoning in on every cross-field pass, it's going out. He has got potential and he's shown against Brighton he came on and he changed that game a lot and he showed some good creativity. But I think just at the moment, there's a lot of, and Maya and David have said it perfectly, I think the person who's going to be most frustrated with Tottenham at the moment is Thomas Frank, because this doesn't even look like a Thomas Frank team. Think of the attackers he's been able to curate over the years, you know, Mbuemo, Watkins, Benrahma, you name them, Tony. Like, he's been able to get so much out of the attack. And we know this Tottenham attack has got goals in it. It's scored loads of goals the last couple of years under Ange. And the defence was the thing we had to fix. And I'd like to say we have fixed that. You know, it's the occasional pop shot that goes in, you know, against Villa the other week, or like a mistake from the back. But I just don't sit there thinking we're going to concede. But I do have faith that Xavi Simmons is going to come good. And I also don't think it helped he's called Xavi. Maybe, like, if his name was John Smith, no one would be like...
John Simmons.
No one would say anything. Because he's got Xavi in there, it's like we expect him to be, you know, the Mazzy, a graduate.
The Standard have called the worst night of the Frank era, Maya. I've seen a lot of Thomas Franks out already. Where do you sit with that? With the Rome was a bit of a daze.
Oh, God,
10 Premier League games in, Thomas Frank out. 4th in the Premier League.
You can't please people. You just can't.
5th in the Premier League, sorry.
Was it three points off second?
Yeah.
5th in the Premier League. You know, Champions League's been okay.
Undefeated.
Yeah. I mean, a few draws in there, but I probably would have hoped we would have maybe got something out of, but still undefeated. I really don't. Sometimes I can sympathise with people who scream for a manager out after, you know, when something might be a little bit reactionary. But I can't even understand, like, in any world, why you'd be calling for his head at this point. Like I previously mentioned, there's a lot of things to address with this football team. And for me, number one was, you know, shoring up at the back. And that's what he's coming and he's focused on doing, clearly. I think... no one's ever going to be 100% happy, right? People are always going to be frustrated and annoyed with whether that's, you know, Xavi Simons or just the attack in general or, you know, playing out from the back, whatever it is. But I think overall, there's still a lot to be positive about. And I think sometimes fans forget that and they let the negative overshadow the positive. Personally, I'm really happy with Thomas Frank. I really like how he's come in. I mean, I liked him anyway at Brentford, but he seems like a cracking bloke, the way he dresses the media. And I just think, look, nothing, I don't want to speak ill of Ange, she's not here anymore, but I think towards the end it did get quite toxic, I'm sure, as we can all appreciate.
I'm not a clown, mate.
Until the trophy. But it just, Thomas Frank feels like a breath of fresh air, and it's been 10 games and people are getting ahead of themselves, and I'm just not here for it.
I think there's probably a bit of an overspill from the Ange era at home, Bents, that people are frustrated with. It's good to ask you this because you wasn't invincible.
Oh, no, don't bring that up.
Do you think that with Arsenal doing so well and looking so strong with the strength and depth that they've got in their squad is adding to the frustration with Spurs fans? Because we always look at at the neighbours. Then surely that's when you come back and say, Arteta's process, 5 seasons, got to give someone time.
Yeah, I think the frustrations are there. You know, with Arsenal doing well, you've got Daniel Levy. The fans have got what they wanted. They've got him he's out. You've got Ange going and somebody else coming in. You've got a transitional period that the club's in. You've got to have time. You've got to have patience. You've got to allow that to sort of the dust to settle. But fans, you know, they do get frustrated. I think with Thomas Frank, he's very articulate the way he deals with the media, which is great, which is better than where Ange was at, because I thought that was one of his downfalls. Ange started butting heads with the media
and the fans
suddenly, and then he created this negative, toxic environment. When we were going in these early days, the energy in the ground was unbelievable.
Oh, it was, yeah.
You know, my kid was loving it. You were singing his song. Everyone was buzzing. It was that Ange ball, and he created that positive, and he quickly turned it negative, and it created a toxic environment, which that's what it does. It feeds down, it feeds into the fans, feeds into the players, feeds into the club.
Perhaps there's a hangover from that.
I think it's a little hangover, but Thomas Frank is very articulate, he's data-driven, he's unbelievable, he's focused on the small details. I think if people call him for him out, it's just social media talk.
As inside Spurs, we're not having any of that.
We're backing him.
We're backing him. So Thomas, if you're watching, I know you're watching. I'll tell you what he will be articulating probably today, as we record this, is his displeasure of seeing Jed Spence and Van der Ven walk off the pitch and absolutely snub him. Let's start with you, Ben, the former player perspective, because you know, one of your most famous incidents in footballing history for you
had to come up again.
is throwing a bucket of water over the gaffer.
Yeah.
And that was in joyous celebration.
It was.
And I'm sure there might have been a bit of a rebuttal. Did you get told off for that at all?
No, I didn't get told off. No, he didn't like it, did he?
So he didn't
messed up his Armani. I mean, you got to get it up.
No, but can you imagine? Have you ever been in a situation where you've had that with a manager?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, you know what it is. I mean, at the game, seeing it, I know exactly what he was doing. Thomas Frank has got this way about him, which he feels like is the positive thing to do, is to go and clap the fans.
Regardless of results.
Regardless of results. Well, I do disagree with that.
Okay.
I think from a player's perspective, there was big boos at the end of the game. There's disappointment. I think you can go in and put your hand up and say, you know, you sort of get in the middle and you say, sorry, guys. You know, you can kind of have that connection. But I think going round, you know, doing the full lap, clapping, and the abuse, you know, the guys that have stayed on, I think for the players is just not. You could see that that's exactly what had happened. He said, come on, we've got to do the walk around, and they've went, no chance, not today, not doing it, because you don't like to see that. You're in the zone, you're a wide-up footballer, it means a lot to every player. I've never played with a player, really, that doesn't want to win 100% and doesn't get, you know, wears his heart on the sleeve. There's not many players.
That's what I
was going to say that. Came to my mind.
I don't even like football.
No, even him, he loved it. You know, I knew that from the first day I trained with him. He two-footed, mate. Yeah. But you can see that. I think he has to deal with that. I think communication's key now to dealing with that situation. And I look back on when I played, communication, if it breaks down, it could become a bigger problem. So he needs to deal with it with the press. He needs to deal with it with the fans. And he needs to straight away deal with it with the two players, to sort of nip it in the bud. It happened, and sort of get his sort of perspective. But I'm not too sure about that. If you lose in that manner, to go around...
that seems to be the collective response from all previous players that we've heard in the media all week. As a fan, what did you make of their behaviour?
I feel like you kind of can't do right for doing wrong in this situation, because if the players don't go and clap the fans, it's, well, you put in a performance like that, you can't even appreciate the fans. And if they do go and clap the fans, it's, well, you put in a performance like that. Exactly. Yeah. So it's like, how do they win? But in terms of the Jed Spence and Van der Ven with Thomas Frank, look, I can't even begin to imagine how difficult it must be when, you know, you live and breathe football, this is your job, this is what, you know, you literally live for it. And to come off the pitch after a performance like that and a game like that, I can't even begin to imagine how frustrated, how devastated they were, mostly with themselves. And, you know, I can only compare it to when I play in, you know, Sunday League football. It's horrible. I just want to get off the pitch. I want to go to the changing rooms. It's embarrassing.
You feel embarrassed.
It's horrible. Yeah. And I think the difference, though, me speaking about my situation playing Sunday League and them, you know, I don't have a duty to the 10 fans that turn up at my games. Well, maybe I do, sorry. But definitely not as much as, you know, the players that play in professional football in the Premier League do to, you know, the 60,000+ fans that are in the stadium. And look, I don't like how they reacted. I don't like the disrespect that was shown towards Thomas Frank when all he was trying to do was usher them back onto the pitch. But I do sympathise with them.
His look back lingered.
Yeah. It was like The Office, wasn't he? He was such a little zoom in.
Stern. I like that.
Yeah, I was thinking what he was thinking in his head, because I know that obviously he dropped Basuma for being late for training. Like, this guy obviously seems nice, but I think behind it, if you want to mess with him, he can certainly, you know...
I think everyone's got this stereotype. Like, I've seen people saying he's not got that authority. I think the other day he was eating a banana at half-time. Like, there's already little murmurs of, like, he's not... Like, Ange seemed like he ruled with an iron fist sometimes. The only thing I'd say is it's probably the reaction has been the two players, who it was in particular, because if anything, they were probably at fault for the goal.
Yes.
So they probably owe it to an extent to give the fans an apology and say, you know, maybe we made a mistake, you know, pass that for the bat.
Stick yourself back in the penitentiary yourself, Spence.
Maybe meet in the middle, just come into the centre circle, clap like that and then come back out. You don't have to do a whole lap, because, I feel like it's just because the little look back from Frank as if to say, oh, come on, like, we owe the fans this. And maybe that's Frank trying to keep fans on side as well.